right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Tonight, I have Allana Pratt. She is an intimacy expert, and we're going to find out all about her work and what she's doing and just everything. We're going to get into it. How are you, Allana?
I am great, Keisha. And I love the title. Oh, hell no. Podcast. That
Yes.
is, I just have to ask, how did that come to pass? I know you're here to interview me, but I don't mean to take over, but I want to know how you
Oh,
chose
you're
that
fine.
title. It's so cool.
Yeah, so a long time ago, I was interested in like celebrity gossip, and I started a little blog that was like, oh hell no, because it was just like everything you read, you're like, oh hell no, I can't believe this. Like, this is crazy. Like, what?
Right.
And I started doing that, but I couldn't keep up with it because, as you know, it changes like every 5 minutes, like something new is happening, right? And I have a full time job. I've always had a full time job. This stuff is just things that I do on the side as, passion projects. So I stopped doing it, but I always kept that name and in my head, So when I started doing podcasting, I was like, I'm going to stick with Oh Hell No, because you know what? Life is just one big bag of oh hell no's, whether they're good or bad. It just is what it is. So when I interview my guests, I always ask them to share, their oh hell no moments. And that's really how it came about. And, I just stuck with it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, thank you for letting me know. Yeah.
No problem. So I'm so glad to have you on the podcast tonight. This is my first podcast in a while. Like last year, at the end of last year, I moved from
Uh-huh.
New Jersey to Florida.
Okay.
And I took a break from podcasting, and I've just been, sorting things out. That was like a really big move. Like we sold our house, we moved, like it was a lot.
Yeah.
So just getting adjusted and, trying to get back into the swing of things. So you are like my first guest back into, the swing of things. So thank
Wonderful.
you
Why
so
did you're,
much.
you're welcome. Why did you choose me as your Florida new chapter first podcast guest? I'm so honored and curious.
So the topic of intimacy is interesting to me, especially in the times that we're in today, right?
Uh-huh.
I have friends that are single and looking for love and things like that.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to talk to you about what your thoughts were on the new generation, the way things go, dating online, how people are connecting, like what is happening, because it just seems a little crazy to me.
Mm.
I'm married, thank God, knock on wood. I hope I stay that way until I die. Because I just don't want to go back out there dating or whatever. I mean, I'm happily married, but like I just couldn't even imagine, right?
Mm.
So, but it's just so interesting to watch and see, how people are moving. So I just wanted to have this conversation with you, because this is, you know all about the intricacies of intimacy and different relationships and things like that.
Mm.
So I thought it would be interesting to, see your perspective. So I want to start with, what is an intimacy expert?
Oh, I know. Like, what the hell is that? Uh, I made it up. Uh, so 20 years ago, I began coaching mainly relationships, but I had to be super honest. I have had two marriages and two divorces. So it's not like I'm some like marriage expert. And then am I even a relationship expert? I don't know. I haven't done terribly well at that. But what I am really good at is dropping out of my head into my heart, telling the truth, being brave, being transparent, being vulnerable. I call that being intimate. And yes, sex falls into intimacy, but really, sex is just body parts meeting. It's just genital copulation. Like that's not so fulfilling. It's really fulfilling when our hearts are open and we feel safe and seen, and we can be unapologetic in our expression, and we can grow closer than we ever could on our own in the presence of another, and they the same with us. Like we're their safe place to come, they're our safe place to go, and we become more together. So I call that intimacy. And I'm a very good guide of dissolving the blocks to that kind of intimacy. Like, why are people attracting those unavailable people? Why are people attracting those string of abusers or cheaters? Why are people not even getting out there in the first place? Why are they repelling the very love they desire, the very connection they desire? And what I've found over and over is because they do not have that connection with themselves. It is so fun to blame everybody else, but it's ineffective and it's inaccurate. Really, everything going on out there is a reflection of what's going on the inside. So let's say, oh, they're so emotionally unavailable. I go, great. Where are you emotionally unavailable to yourself? And they're like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, what do you do when you're scared? Oh, I just shove that away and I have another glass of wine and I go on social media. I'm like, well, yeah. How does little scared you feel when they are brave enough to feel sad and you hit them with a 2x4, shove them in the closet and ignore them? Not very good. So you're emotionally unavailable to your scared self, your angry self, your shameful self, your wobbly self. You're all about looking good and being perfect. And so that same distance from within will create that same distance without. And you'll only attract people that are shallow, or they'll only be there for you if you always are perfect and have a happy face. But the day where you really need them, they won't be there, because the day when you really need yourself, you weren't there either.
That is deep. Wow. I love it. So how did this work find you?
Well, who was the queen of emotional unavailability? That would be me. Who is like the biggest people pleaser, insecure, looking for love on the outside because I didn't know how to give it to myself on the inside. I was very accomplished, like Ivy League grad, Columbia school. Like I've written 6 books and I have 5.5 million views on YouTube. Like I'm very, very accomplished in the giving, because that's the safe place. But in terms of the receiving, that was my edge. And so that's why I shifted from being a relationship coach to being an intimacy expert, because I needed to learn what I'm teaching is really what I need to learn, right? And so as I began to look inside and begin to cultivate, curate, navigate this intimate relationship with myself, I learned how to love myself. Everyone talks about self-love, but what is it really? It's easy to love myself when I'm all the things I just listed, cum laude grad and the rest of it. It's a lot harder to love yourself when you go through a divorce, when you can't seem to drop that extra 10 pounds, when he doesn't text back, when he doesn't want to have sex, when everyone else is getting married and you're not. Like, can you love yourself then? And most of us can't. We can sure judge ourselves. We can sure try to fix ourselves, but can we actually sit? I call it sitting in the fire. It's one of my 10 Allana Pratt method processes. I have many ways to help people feel, because if you can face it and feel it, you can heal it. But if you override it and push it away, it's not just going to stay there. It's going to grow until it hits you in the face one day and there's nowhere to go but to heal. Maybe it's a bankruptcy, maybe it's a divorce, maybe it's an illness, but it'll catch up with you. And so really it's about, can we sit in the fire and learn first to accept and allow, maybe not love quite yet, but can we at least have some compassion and empathy? Wow, sweet self, you have every right to feel scared right now. It's hard being single. It's hard being out there on the dating scene. It's hard moving through rejection. You have every right to feel this way. Tell me more, sweet self. And you learn to feel and create this intimate bond that over time feels like a really strong spine and a really brave open heart and a really like inviting, alluring energy to go, okay, life, what you got? Bring it. I'm in. I'm all in. And it takes work. But to me, it's the most important building block of our self-realization. Because if we don't heal, we're just going to keep attracting the same guy or gal in a different body, but it's going to be the same issue over and over. And so it's more efficient to take 2 or 3 steps inward so you can take 10 leaps forward in your dating life. And the way I've structured what I do private coaching, and then every week I meet with the group coaching, and I've got an online curriculum. So you can cry your face off with me or in the group or with the online curriculum. You can celebrate your wins with me the group or with the curriculum. Like, you've got all the ways that work for lasting change. I'm not a quick fix kind of person. I'm not here. I mean, you can just read a book if you just want to stay in your head, but you can't solve problems of the heart with the mind. You solve them by dropping into the heart.
So let me ask you this, because
Yeah.
a lot of people feel like they love themselves. I'm happy with me. I love myself. What are you talking about? Like, whatever. Can
Yeah.
you explain in a very simple way how someone can identify that their self-love is not really there, or it needs to be worked on?
Yeah. Well, it's if you can only be happy and love yourself when you're a control freak, a perfectionist, never risking, never going outside of your comfort zone, and you call that happy, okay, but that's really you just being fake and in control and living in your little bubble. But if you can actually risk writing that book and the publisher doesn't pick you up, right? If you can really go out on 10 first dates and none of them want a second date with you, if you can really be 3 months, 6 months into a relationship and say, you know what, kids are a deal breaker for me. I want children, and they leave you, but you don't squelch your truth and you still have your own back and you get back out there again and you don't give up on love, blame them, and become a real bitch. If you can do that, then okay, you've got some healthy self-love going on. But if you don't have the courage to keep showing up for your truth and your dreams, if you project and deflect and avoid or blame others rather than bravely owning your stuff, cleaning up your messes, telling the truth to yourself and others, if you can't do that, then you're faking yourself that you love yourself. Because if when people really slow down and they face themselves in the mirror, most of us can't look ourselves in the eye. There's shame, there's regret, there's projection or accusations. It takes a lot of work to go, you know what? Even though, and here's a great sentence for people to work on, even though I'm, let's say, single, I love and accept myself. Not, I'm single and I'm going to fix that, or I'm single and there's no good men out there. You can kind of hear like the crankiness of it. No, true self-love is when you can say whatever difficult circumstance or qualities going on, even though that I open my heart bravely, unapologetically, and I live fully in the face of anything. That would be true self-love that no one and no thing can take away.
Mm, love that. And I love how you broke that down. Thank you so much.
Mm.
So, how do you improve your skills as an intimacy expert? Like, what are you doing to stay sharp and, be able to help people in this area?
Yeah, I would recommend never working with a coach or a therapist or a counselor who isn't also working with a coach, a therapist, or a counselor. Like, I can't see my blind spot to save my life. I can see yours. I can see all my clients. I am really good at what I do, but I'm a hot mess like the rest of us. So I always have multiple coaches who have my back. I have spiritual coaches, I have relationship coaches, I have business coaches, I have energy workers. I have all sorts of different practitioners that help show me where I'm not aligned, where I'm bullshitting myself, where I'm telling a story, where I'm shining people on. They'll be rigorous with me because I can only take my clients as deep as I'm willing to go myself. And the beauty is I'm very brave and I do really, really deep work. And so when I'm with my clients, I don't judge them because I've learned not to judge myself. I can love them without condition because I'm not perfect, but I love myself without condition. Even though, like, for example, I've been through 2 divorces, I've had a custody battle, I've had a boyfriend attack me and get arrested for criminal assault. I've had highs of almost $1 million a year, and I've had lows of like, should we do bankruptcy or debt consolidation? Like, I've been all over the map with money, with men. I've was a model, in my 20s. I lived in Japan. I was a model, and I've also hated my body. And so I've faced all the shadows, and I've learned to love all those parts of me, accept all those parts of me, be an allowance and no resistance of those parts of me. and really have compassion. Like, hey, girl, you did your best based on how you were raised, based on what happened to you, based on society's pressures. You've done your best. Come here, give me a hug, as opposed to the judgment. And what happens when we can be an allowance of these parts of ourselves, and that part of ourselves knows we don't have an agenda, no strategy to try to fix us? That's called loving without condition. That's called unconditional love. When you can say to a part of you, you know what, if you're insecure forever and you never change, I love you. You know, and that's hard to say to the part of you that you want to change. Then it would be conditional love, wouldn't it? It wouldn't be unconditional. It would be conditional. And is that even love? If you don't love somebody unless they change? No. So when we can learn to do that, love ourselves without condition, self-love, and then care for ourselves, have practices that support that deep, intimate relationship, then we are the vibration, the frequency, and the capacity to be that with another and really be discerning, which allows for safety, but also be brave, open-hearted, and attract somebody that's like, dang, you've done the work and you keep doing the work. Wow, I feel safe with you because I get that you're not going to blame me for everything. You're going to take ownership and responsibility, and you're going to ask me to do the same. You're actually inspiring me to be a better person. Let's have a second date. Let's tie the knot.
And
Let's have a kid.
I love that you say you keep doing the work, because guys, you got to keep doing the work. It never ends. Like, we're constantly, you know, like pouring into ourselves. We should be anyway. So you said that you've been through divorce, you've been through, you know, custody battles, all types of things, just everything, life stuff, right? So what does your client look like, and when is your client ready to come to you?
When they're ready.
But what does that look like? You know, like, is there a certain, because, you know, from working with people, sometimes you have people come to see you and they're not ready, right? And then it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of their time. So, high level, when are you ready?
It's an individual, I would say. Well, my clients, all of my clients come to me because they say they feel safe with me. You're real, you're authentic, you walk your talk, you do the work. You're amazing at what you do, but you're not better than me or holier than thou. You make me feel safe to tell the truth. And you call me on my bullshit with humor, with kindness, with care, and with non-judgment. So that's basically why they're attracted to me in the first place. And they want to heal, but they don't want to expose their wobbly parts to someone who's going to judge them, or someone they're not exactly sure will see present and connected with them when they really let her rip. And so people that work with me, no one's ever ready. Are you ever ready to have a kid? Right? Are you ever ready? Like, we're stepping into the unknown when we're going to go on a healing journey. So I would say it's not that they're ready. I'd say it's that they're brave and humble and willing. That's what they are.
Willing. Okay, willing. I like that word, willing, because you have to be willing to
jump,
you know,
into my arms.
Right. And also receive what you're saying, right?
Yes.
Because you're going to call people on their stuff, right? So I have to be willing to say, okay, I accept this. Maybe I'm not ready to agree with it, but I accept it and I hear you. You know what I mean? So willing is a great word. I like that word.
Yeah. Willing. And everybody's able if they're willing to feel. I mean, if you're looking for someone who you're just going to talk at, then go to a traditional therapist, because talk therapy statistically doesn't heal deep heart wounds. It doesn't heal trauma. You'll have coping mechanisms, and that'll probably, I call that sprinkles on top of the ice cream cone of shit. It's like you'll feel some relief. But to me, relief is exhausting because you have to keep working at that. I'm only interested in lasting change. I'm only interested in transformation. I'm only interested in true embodied healing. I don't want to keep giving you a fish for the rest of my life. As much as I love my clients, and many of them stay with me for 10 years because their life just keeps getting better and better. And the community that I've cultivated is so safe and so conscious and so high level. Many of them are the black sheep of their family, and they don't know where that safe place is to be fully self-expressed and celebrated and held and never judged. So they stay for a long time. However, the goal is not to keep them on some lure and keep coming back for 10 years and, oh, there's another problem. No. I don't want to keep giving you a fish. I want to teach you to fish. I want you to be able to solo process at home your stuff. I want you to be able to be on a weekend away with your beloved and things go awry and you can sit in the fire. You can lean in, you can keep your heart open, and you can create transformation in your life. I want to teach them how to do that. And they can, and they do. And that's why relationships evolve to the next level with my clients. So long story short, they're willing, they're brave, they're humble, and they're willing to feel. Just talking about it, don't come to me. You can read my books. But if you really want to be transformed, healed in a lasting way, you're going to have to feel. And feeling is scary. Feeling is not easy. So I got you. I'm unwavering. I'm as strong as they come. I'm a mama bear. Like I will never let you fall. And the other part of my energy is I'm patient as eternity. And I'm tender. And I have divine mama energy. And I got you and I'll never judge you. And so those two bookends, as you go into feeling things that you have not been brave enough or had somebody safe enough to share with, that is the rich transformation that I provide, that I've been highly trained in, that I do myself. And we feel these uncomfortable emotions all the way through to the transformation of them. We don't get rid of fear. We, like alchemy, we transform fear into, let's say, power, pain into a capacity maybe for bravery. Maybe you've been betrayed. We're going to transform that into the embodiment of forgiveness and compassion. Maybe you've been terribly ashamed. We're going to transform that into the capacity to live without apology. And other people's opinion of you is none of your business. We can say that in our head all day long, but as soon as somebody says something and it hurts and you get triggered, you know that you have not done the work yet. It's when they can call you a three-headed elephant, and which is it's just a joke, but they're going to say something that really stings and it's not going to trigger you. You can stay present. You can stay in your power, which means you have freedom. And to me, that is the work that I do. I set people free.
Nice. Okay. So earlier I talked a little bit about just the state of our world, right? I feel like young people today, and I'm not saying all of you young people, I'm just saying some of you are a little, I don't know, overzealous. You want everything right away. You're like just, I don't know, angry and disrespectful. It's just very hard to date and get out there and find someone. It's just a different time, right? I'm not judging, just saying these are observations. Right, because I have young people in the world, right? So when you're out there and today I feel like meeting people is like more online, right? It's hard to like get out there and meet people. So like we're using technology, and this is the way that we're meeting. And it's very difficult because, you know, people lie, and just people are killers. It's like a lot of things going on, right? So, what is your advice for single people looking for love in 2023?
Mm.
What are, in this climate, the times are so different. Just the way that people do things, it's just so different. Everything is just so fast and so different, and everything is just so out there. You know what I mean?
Yes and no. Are you a mom with kids that are dating, or what is your,
No, my kid's not
where's this
dating
all
yet.
coming from?
I do have one kid that's older that, has a baby and everything like that. But I have a daughter, she's 13. She's not dating yet. Um, but I mean, I have friends that date, and the stories that I hear are just crazy. And just like reading things online and just like, seeing the things because everything's online now, right? People are sharing their experiences left and right. And it's just mind boggling, like the things that go on,
Yeah.
right? So if you're looking for somewhere where you're going to find someone who's available emotionally, mentally, all of these things. Like, what advice would you give to people who are online dating?
Yeah. Well, couple things. The inside creates the outside. So have you ever noticed the home where they never lock their doors because they just believe it's all good and they never get broken into? And then there's the house that has all the security cameras and they lock it all the time and they're broken into because they're afraid of getting broken into. Oh, what if we get broken into? What are they thinking about all day getting broken into? What do they attract getting broken into? Okay. So our point of view and what we focus on, we will attract. So if you're super afraid and all you're focusing on is how am I going to get used and all these people and they're going to take advantage of me, it's probably going to happen because it's what you're focusing on all the time. Now, I'm not saying being Pollyanna and not being aware and discerning and safe, but I'm saying you're creating your reality by what you're looking for. So start asking a different question. What would it take for me to meet somebody healthy, grounded, honoring, noble, does the right thing when no one's looking, does the inner work, is willing to grow and keep growing, is willing to take it slow, is conscious? Like ask those questions and then your focus and your attention will take you to those communities where there's people with those aligned values and you won't have to worry about everything else you're finding out online and all the rest of it. Be willing to take enough ownership that you're creating your life. Okay. Sometimes these difficult challenges happen to grow you, to grow your resilience, to grow your sense of awareness, to grow your healthy boundaries, to help you learn how to forgive yourself or to be braver and to be able to speak up when you normally don't. So quote unquote, bad things that happen to you are not against you. They're for you to grow you. So on the one hand, just because one guy cheats on you doesn't mean everyone's going to cheat on you. What did you learn from that? Get the lesson so that you're more aware, but don't close your heart and become bitter because when your heart is closed, you don't have an intuition. When your heart is closed, you're in your fight or flight part of your brain, freaking out and reacting all the time, and you're not able to keep yourself safe. You're safest when your heart is open, discerning and aware, and you're in your body. And that doesn't happen when you don't do the work from getting your heart crushed and you keep your heart closed. That's probably the way to be the most unsafe, is a closed heart. The safest way to be is an open, discerning heart, which takes bravery, takes doing the work, but then you'll have that sixth sense. Your intuition will be turned on. You'll be in the best part of your brain, which is a creative part of your brain, and you'll trust yourself. I cannot tell you how many clients, young or old, who come to me and say, I can't trust myself. And I said, yeah, well, how's your relationship with yourself? Oh, well, I don't like to feel my feelings. I just want to push this away. I just want to be happy all the time. I'm like, well, that's why. You're not in your body. Your heart is closed and you're terrified. Go be with the terrified part of you. I don't want to feel terror. I go, well, that's how you feel bravery. How can you feel bravery by learning how to move through your fears? You learn forgiveness by having been betrayed. Like this is how we learn people. We're not just born with all these superpowers. They are cultivated through being on this planet, growing and learning. So that's like the inside job. And then if I would say to young people or any people, of where are you going to find these mostly conscious, nobody's perfect, but mostly kind, mostly do the right thing when people aren't looking, is in conscious communities. So a lot of people, while I don't have a huge coaching organization, I have about 40 clients, people fall in love. People have found their soulmates. People have lived happily ever after. Not that I'm a matchmaker, but you're going to find like-minded people or people who have friends that are like-minded, right? And so people fall in love when you're in a community where people are invited to be brave, tell the truth, live fully, keep their heart open, let go of the past, forgive, and be happy with who they are, not waiting to be happy till you've got 10 pounds less or 10 million more or whatever it is. So find yourself a conscious community of people that are interested in personal growth and evolution that resonates with you, feels fun, feels good, and date in that pool rather than the whole unknown of a dating app with millions of people who you have no clue at all who they are. And one thing you'll learn in a community like mine, where you heal your heart, you get into your intuition, you take that superpower of intuition, not your mind. I'm a super smart gal, like Ivy League, okay? But it's not my mind that keeps me safe. It's my intuition. So if I go on dating apps, I will look at the profiles and I will feel how I feel with them. Too good to be true. Everything's great on paper, but my Stomach feels queasy. That one, maybe an inch or two shorter than I'd prefer, but man, I'm really drawn to this person. Wow, right? You learn to trust yourself. You learn to trust yourself. And that's how you navigate the online dating world, is not just being in I call it like an iceberg, just the tip of the iceberg, the very, very tippy top. That's our thoughts, our beliefs, our thinking. It's not enough to keep you safe. But underneath the iceberg in the water, that's your subconscious. That's that part of you that goes, And if you have unresolved triggers, unresolved traumas in there, those unresolved traumas will create more trauma, attract more trauma. It happened to me. And so that's why I'm so good at what I do, is because I was blindsided. My brain said, oh, he's charismatic and says he's into the conscious world. And I wasn't in my body. I hadn't resolved my own wounds, and I attracted an abuser. And then I said, okay, who did that? I did that, not to judge myself, but to take ownership. And let's do the next level of deep subconscious healing trauma work so that I can drop even deeper into my knowing, feel even safer, forgive myself, and actually say thank you to the abuser, not personally, but like, thank you that you woke me up so I can be even more empowered and empower others to forgive themselves and to do the work.
Nice. I love that answer. I believe everything that you said, that's the same stuff I tell people that are looking for love, right? I swear I do. I tell them that you can't be closed. It's like even my mom, she's like, oh, I don't want to date anybody ever again. And I'm like, come on, lady. Don't be like that. Just be open to meeting someone nice that you can, like have a nice lunch with or something like that. You don't have to move in. Like, you know what I mean? It could be whatever
Yeah.
you want. But people get so jaded from their experiences that they like close themselves off to like, I don't want this and I don't want that. And I'm just going to stay by myself. And I feel like it's possible to find like companionship.
For
So
sure.
I'm glad that you said that, because it makes me know that what I'm telling people is not crazy,
No.
and that is the right way to be. And that you can, I love that you said date like like-minded people, look for people doing the same things that you are doing or aspire to do. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. One thing about your mom, I mean, I haven't met her, but from what you're saying, yes, dating from a closed place, you'll attract somebody with a closed heart. Don't even try. And just opening without doing your healing work, you won't have a sense of discernment and awareness. You'll have like an unhealed, wounded heart that's open. And there are nasty people out there who can take advantage of you if you haven't found your spine, if you haven't healed your wounds into discernment and awareness, if you don't know your worth, if you're still blaming others rather than taking ownership yourself. So opening is essential. But in order to open and be safe and successful, we have to do the deep inner work. Does that make sense?
Yes, but let me ask you this.
Yeah.
How do you own someone else cheating? Like, how do you own that? Like, what is the work for that without giving away your goodies? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, one way to look at it, if somebody is cheating on you, they are lying to you, right? They're not brave to talk about what's really missing in the relationship and cultivate it. So one way you own it is, where am I not brave and talking to myself about what's really important? Where am I not willing to sit in the fire and tell the truth to myself? Have those tough conversations with myself. Say, hey, I'm out of integrity with my values here. Oh, hey, I didn't actually speak up here. Like, so they're a reflection of ourself on that level. I'm not condoning them for cheating. That doesn't work if what you're choosing is a monogamous relationship. So that's their stuff, not you.
right.
But what we can own is that energetically, vibrationally, on a frequency level, we attracted someone doing that. So we have to, on some level, be doing that ourselves. And when we heal that, shift that, have those brave conversations with ourselves and have those brave conversations with others, we're no longer a match for those people that withhold and lie, because we're not willing to withhold and lie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also, I feel like when you said you're not having the conversations, like I feel like sometimes in relationships, people see things happening in the relationship, but they never address it, you
Yeah.
know? And that is one way of not honoring yourself because you're just like acting like that didn't happen or like
Right.
it's not
You're
a
in
big
denial.
deal. Right. You
Totally in
know?
denial and avoidance. Yeah. So there's a skill. I teach a lot of different skills in dating and in being in relationship. And one of them is called the dyad. It's a structure where you can communicate with your partner. I like to do it on a weekly basis so that there's no elephant in the living room. There's always a space to talk about what's uncomfortable. And the rule of a dyad is somebody asks a question, the other person answers, and the only thing the other person can do is say, thank you. And then you switch. So the question might be, tell me something you want me to understand that you think I don't fully understand. And we try not to do a lot of you, because that's blamey, but it's more I. Something I want you to understand that I think you may not understand is I feel scared when you say you're going to be home at 8 and then it's 8:30. And all the other person can say is, thank you. Not, well, like you don't get to fight. You don't get to have conflict. You just get to understand each other. You might not even agree, but the idea is to understand each other. And so when you start to cultivate this safe way of expressing difficult things, and you are a person willing to do the work, and you're willing to do the right thing when no one's looking, cultivate, be your best self. Those kind of communications allow for that honesty and that commitment and that trust and that respect to grow. And so maybe those kind of conversations, if it ended up in cheating, maybe someone tell me something you want me to understand that you think I don't understand. Something I want you to understand is I miss your presence. I miss your touch. I miss having more intimate, nourishing sex. I really wish we could talk after rather than you just turn over. My heart misses you. My body misses you, but my heart and my soul misses you. The other person, all they get to say is thank you. And so maybe the person that went out and had the affair was, I don't know, but afraid to be intimate, afraid that maybe they weren't valued, afraid that maybe they only wanted you for their money. Who knows? But these kind of deeper dyad questions allows for that truth underneath the emotion, which is normally fear, right? On top, we're often angry and we blame and we do all the things, or we avoid, or we pretend. But underneath it all, where most of us are just scared. And if we have a structure to communicate, to share where we're scared, and the other person doesn't get to defend, doesn't get to judge, doesn't get to roll their eyes, doesn't get to leave the room, you got to sit in the fire and just say, thank you. It's an opportunity to grow and evolve and make a new choice next time, to reach out rather than check someone else out, but to reach towards your partner and maybe really ask for how you want to be touched, held, spoken to, loved. And a great dyad question is just tell me a way you like to be loved, and do that back and forth. Maybe you never knew what turned them on. Maybe you didn't understand their love language. Maybe you just didn't have the courage to ask. But these structures really deepen relationship over time.
Nice. So let me ask you this. As a child, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like, what did
Oh, a
you
ballerina. Totally a ballerina. Yeah.
really? That's
Yeah. And I was a
interesting.
professional dancer for about 4 years. And then I took dancing at Barnard across the street from Columbia in New York. I still
Uh-huh.
take dance class every single week. I love dancing. Yeah.
Yeah, I love dancing too, but my knees are weak right now and it's kind of hard to drop it low, you know?
Oh, I hear
But
you. Yeah. Well, my dance class, we just roll around on the ground. That's what we do. So that you don't
yeah.
have to worry about your knees. We're already down on the ground. It's fine.
Yeah, I love dancing too. Okay, that's interesting. Did you have such a like nurturing and like warm and like kind spirit where you're like
You.
so I was just wondering like what when you were younger like what you wanted to be because I always feel like sometimes when I interview people they'll say oh I wanted to be a teacher or something like this and somehow in the future they're teaching, right? It's not
Yeah.
in the traditional way that they thought but it
Right.
always comes back. So I
Yeah.
was just wondering what your thoughts were on
Maybe
yourself.
like Glenda the Good Witch. I wanted to be Glenda the Good Witch. Like,
So this question you might not be able to answer. I don't know. I was wondering if there are three things we should consider red flags when it comes to intimacy. And when I say red flags, I mean let's make it a little easy. In a relationship, um, are there ever intimacy red flags that are you can't fix this, you need to head for the hills?
Mm.
And then I wanted you to share three things that can be fixed and shouldn't be deal breakers
Mm.
relating to intimacy and relationships. And if you can't think of three, maybe two. And maybe if I'm not asking the question in the right way,
Oh no,
maybe.
it's a great question.
Okay.
Things that can be changed and things that cannot be changed have nothing to do with you, and they
Mm-hmm.
have everything to do with the other person. We can only change ourselves. So when we look about what can be changed and what cannot be changed, it's always within ourselves. So maybe you're in a relationship and you start to talk about something and they're totally stone cold face, and you're talking and talking, and all of a sudden they blow up and you didn't see it coming. Now you could just head for the hills, or you could take ownership for a moment and just say, who was I being? What was I saying? How was I saying it that allowed for such an eruption to occur? Can I shift? Can I grow? Can I ask when they're calm again, please let me know what I said or what I did that made you feel so disrespected, because I never want to do that again. Right? And then we do our own inner growth and we change, and then they do it again. Then you can head for the hills, because they're not actually interested in growing. Right? But not to blame them and assess them and interview them, and it's all about them. No, take full ownership of the only one we can control, which is ourselves. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So being a woman, we're women, a lot of times we have our worth based in what we can control and what we can accomplish and what we can achieve. And we don't give a chance for our masculine partner to win, to be our hero, to support, to protect. And we don't soften and we don't surrender. That's something we can work on. It takes a lot of bravery to know that our worth has nothing to do with our accomplishments. Our worth is that I am that I am. That's the end of the sentence, right? And that we can give and receive and be equally worthy, and let them step up and then praise them and be grateful for them. So that's something we can work on. Instead of being a little too masculine and controlling, we can be a little more soft and inviting and alluring and grateful. Okay. But if we do the work and we shift, and we're still blamed or judged or not respected or not protected, etc., once you've done the work, then it's time to say thank you, but no thank you. I'm moving on to someone who appreciates my brave ability to surrender and let you have my back and let go. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I love that you said that. It's so funny. The other day, I said to my husband that I love when he like pulls out money and like spends it on me and just like get like puts money in my pocket or in my hands or something like that. And I was like, I think I really enjoy that, because all my life I've been like working and taking care of myself and being like, I got it, I can pay half, I can pay this, I can pay. So when he just is like, I'm paying for dinner, I'm paying for this, I'm paying for that, and just giving me money and whatever, I'm like, I feel like I'm like I got like a sugar daddy or something. Like I've never had that before, but I just enjoy that. And I just
Yeah.
said, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And I love it. It's like a
Yeah.
moment where you just don't have to worry about money or anything. And you just feel spoiled. And I
Mm.
appreciate it.
Mm.
So I love that you said that, because it really resonated with me in an experience I had recently.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, because what you did when you were treated that way is, I think, the important part. Well, first, you received, but second, you praised, you were appreciative. Just telling the story, you were more radiant, probably makes you more generous, more thoughtful, more caring, more affectionate, more present. Like your best self comes out. Some people have things paid for and they're like, and you should. That's your, like, they have an
Mm,
attitude about it and they're
yeah.
not grateful, and men feel taken advantage of. and not appreciated, right? And then they go
Yeah.
have an affair. Okay. So we want to be sure that when we shift that and we receive, that from fullness, we make sure to give from the overflow. And we don't just talk to them, we talk into them. We make sure it lands. We make sure that we see them shift. Men will often puff up or stand a little taller when we've actually been being or doing or saying something that nourished their parched soul. And the same would happen if there's men listening to this. There's a way that your depth and your presence allows us to open, allows us to soften, right? And so we want, when each party is in their happy place, their full place, their whole place, be sure to give from the overflow so that the relationship grows and evolves. It's not just to take and then be done. It's to receive and then give from the overflow.
Yes. People give from the overflow. I like it. All
Mm.
right. So, what keeps you passionate about this work? Because, doing something over and over and over again sometimes can get a little like, oh, am I growing? Am I changing anything? I mean, you get to really see change real time because you're working
Yeah.
like hands on with people. So,
Yeah.
what keeps you like motivated to keep going and doing this work year after
Mm.
year?
There's nothing I would rather be doing than being real, intimate, and deep, telling the truth, talking about what really matters, being brave, and creating a life beyond our ancestral patterns, a better life, and giving that life to our kids. There's nothing more nourishing than working with clients, going to my own coaches, speaking with you, interviewing people on my podcast. Like this being in intimate conversations, it's always new. There's always like another leaf of the lotus flower, the blossoming flower to unfold. I love it. I've written 6 books, so I don't feel like, oh, I have to write another book. So that doesn't turn me on, but a docuseries does. So that's what's next for me, is to be able to share in a larger audience what I do on my YouTube channel, or do on my podcast, etc. And really what keeps me going is how much I love my clients and I love my staff, like my family. And so I have retreats, and sometimes, not all of them come, but a lot of them come. But I thought, wait a minute, way back when I was 20 years old, I was living in Japan and I was a model. And I was like, what? Yeah, I need to wear, you want me to wear pretty clothes and smile and you're going to pay me? Okay, that's ridiculous. Okay, yes, I'll do that. And then I was a dancer. I'm like, wait a minute, you want me to dance and have a lot of fun and you're going to pay me? Okay, I'll totally do that. But I kind of forgot about that. For several decades, I got into the entrepreneur, and I've got a staff and I got to take care of everybody. And it kind of became a little more of the grind. And I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. Very, very proud. But it's gotten a bit obligatory or heavy. And so I was really asking myself, what would just feel like, you want me to wear pretty clothes and you're going to pay me? I just have to smile. That's it. Like, what would that feel like right now? And it would be a show where I could literally be paid to go around and connect with these clients who are so brave and so conscious and so amazing and so unique and so different. And maybe having them on the show, they'll find their soulmate, their whole mate, because everyone will see them. That'll be a great outcome. And I hope a lot of people will learn about intimacy and about these different processes that I teach, so that we can all have deeper, more meaningful, rich connection. And in a very, very selfish way, I just want to hang out with the people that I love and just love the shit out of them. Some of my clients I've never hugged. I've known them for 10 years on Zoom. I've never hugged their body, ever. I've never danced with them. I've never gone paddle boarding. We've never gone out, and I can't be their wing girl. And, like I just want to play. I want to give myself permission to play. And then I also want to show my vulnerable, transparent side to more people and show them how to not judge that they're perfectly imperfect, that they're human. So if Allana is, 5.5 million views, and isn't she perfect? No, she's not. Nobody is. And here's how I deal with my scary, wobbly parts. And you can too. So my mastery and my vulnerability, and show that to the world, that lights me up. And that's what I'm creating right now.
That's awesome. Well, I'll be looking out for your show, girl, because
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
So we're at the part of the show where I'm going to ask you to share an oh hell no moment that
Okay.
either taught you something or changed your perspective on something.
Mm.
An oh hell no moment is a moment of shock or disbelief. It can be shared with another person, it can be experienced by yourself, but it's a moment in your life where you were like, something happened and you were like, oh hell no, like, wait a minute, okay, let me regroup here, right? And it could have been a positive, or a negative.
Mm.
So what comes to mind for you?
How could a oh hell no be positive? But that's cool. I'll have to think of
Like
that.
winning the lottery, you're like
Oh,
checking your
okay.
tickets and you're like, oh hell no, are these the numbers that I win? You know what I mean?
Okay. So that is going to be what I say when Netflix says, and your show is sold and we're starting filming. I'll be
Right.
thinking of you, Keisha, for sure. But I'm gonna go back to 16 years old, and James and Carlene were supposed to come out to the lake for the weekend. And Carlene arrived and she ran down the stairs, and I'm like, "Where's James?" And she's like, "James is dead." And I'm like, "Stop it. You guys joke around me all the time. Like, stop it." And then I saw Carlene's parents come to walk down the stairs. I'm like, "Oh shit, this is real." And Keisha, I ran up the stairs past them all, and we had a highway right beside our cabin, and I ran down the yellow line. I was unaware that there were cars screeching all around me. I was just screaming no, that if I could keep screaming no, it wouldn't be real. And all the screeching cars went away, and I could vaguely hear Carlene saying, "There's been a death." And all I remember is turning around and seeing my dad. Now, my dad was a drunk and stoned most of my life, so I didn't trust him. But my dad walked down the yellow line towards me, and he took my shoulders and he shook me and he goes, "Look, if this is it, let's get off. You will see your friend again. We live forever. Now let's get off the highway." And I'm like, my drunk stoned dad is spiritual? And like a whole reality opened up for me. And then my friends, my neighbors, a few cabins down, took me bike riding to try to help me feel better. And as we were coming home that night back to the cabin, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, but there were 2 rainbows over my cabin. And I believe it was my friend James saying, "You have a choice. You could be bitter, close your heart, wish you'd never met me, and hate God. Or you could keep your heart open, be grateful for the times we had together, and learn how to live with your heart open in the face of anything." And I'm 53, and that happened when I'm 16, and it still moves me, Keisha, because he was such an inspiration for me to learn how to be an intimacy expert, to learn how to keep your heart open after you've been abused or cheated on or hurt, or someone dies. And that is our birthright as human beings, to learn to keep our heart open to God, to ourselves, to important people, and to have these situations awaken our bravery to live fully. So that's my oh, hell no. But also, thank you. It's a thank you moment. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. That was so sweet. I love that. And I love that you could think like that at 16 years old. You know what I mean? Like that's what came to you when you saw that. That's amazing. I love that. It's
Thank you.
been a pleasure having you on the show. Please tell everyone where we can link up with you on all
Yeah.
your social media so we
Thank
can find out when you get that Netflix show, honey, because we're going to be watching.
Thank you. I'd appreciate that. So my site is my name, allanapratt.com. /quiz is an intimacy blind spot assessment. So you can learn more about why you might be repelling the love that you desire. allanapratt.com /connect is a way that you can have a call with me. And I'd like to give everyone the scholarship code. If you say ready now, all one word, capital letters, you'll get a scholarship discount for being on this podcast. So that's a way to connect. And then every day I post on Instagram, my name, Allana Pratt, my YouTube channel, also Allana Pratt, over 5.5 million views on that. So lots of content, lots of questions that I answer for people. And then lastly, I have a podcast too called Intimate Conversations. And so I think the docuseries is going to be called Intimate Secrets. We'll see what Netflix, or better, wants to call it. So follow me on all those places. If the work I do is like, yeah, I'm ready to do that work, I'm willing to do that work, let's connect, because I promise you things won't get better. They'll get worse if you avoid them. And for a short period of time, it'll be uncomfortable, but it'll awaken bravery, and it'll allow you to have the kind of relationship with yourself and others that you've always desired. So it would be an honor to welcome you into the community.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Mm.